My name is Scarlett, and I'm a 37-year-old housewife with no children. I work as well, balancing both roles. Today marks our 5th wedding anniversary, which also happens to be my husband Everett's birthday. Everett is the same age as me. Everett is a charming salesman working for a well-known company, where he's doing quite well. However, his job often requires him to work late and entertain clients, so we rarely spend time together. Our wedding was a modest ceremony held on a weekday, attended only by close family and a few friends. Both of us had jobs that required us to work on weekends, making it difficult to find a suitable time. Everett was particularly insistent on keeping it simple. For our anniversary and his birthday, I asked him to come home early. I even took half a day off from work to prepare. I bought his favorite Wagyu steak, wine, and cake from a department store and set up a beautifully decorated table. I waited eagerly for Everett to return home. However, despite my repeated requests, he never showed up. Instead, I received a single email from him, saying that he had urgent work and would be staying at the office. I was disappointed but tried to be understanding since it was work-related. I cleaned up the uneaten dinner and went to bed, though I couldn't shake a feeling of doubt, especially since he had told me he wasn't that busy. The next morning, I went to work as usual, but my messages to his phone went unread, and my calls went unanswered. Growing more worried, I called his office and was stunned to learn that he had resigned the day before and had apparently accepted a job in a neighboring prefecture. I hadn't heard anything about this. I rushed home and noticed his shoes by the entrance. My heart raced as I entered his room, only to find him packing his belongings into a suitcase. "What's going on?" I asked in shock, my eyes wide with disbelief. Everett simply clicked his tongue and handed me divorce papers, saying, "So, you've already figured it out." "What's going on?" I asked, my voice trembling with shock. With cold, emotionless eyes, he echoed my question before bluntly stating, "Let's get a divorce." "Why? What for?" I demanded, still reeling from his sudden declaration. "I'm tired of you not fulfilling your role as a wife," he replied, his tone sharp and unforgiving. "You put work first. You barely cook. You only do laundry once a week. And the house is always dusty. I don't need a wife like that." "Wait a minute," I protested, feeling a surge of frustration. "For the past 2 years, I've made dinner and waited for you. But you always said you had already eaten and refused to have any. That's why I stopped cooking." "Even so, it's a wife's duty to cook and wait," he retorted, dismissing my explanation. "Besides, your cooking is terrible, so I started eating out." I shuddered at the harshness in his voice, remembering how he used to compliment my cooking when we were first married. Desperately, I reminded him, we agreed when we got married that I would do the laundry and cleaning on my days off, Wednesdays and Thursdays, but he just rolled his eyes and scoffed. "So, I'm supposed to tolerate a dirty house from Friday to Tuesday? That's ridiculous." "What's happened to you all of a sudden?" I asked, bewildered by his sudden change in attitude. "I never imagined you'd want me to quit my job after 5 years of marriage." "When I got a new job offer, I saw it as the perfect opportunity," he said coldly. "An opportunity for what? A divorce?" I was stunned. Everett had never complained about my work or housekeeping before, and I had seen no signs that he was unhappy or thinking of ending our marriage. "You never noticed how dissatisfied I was," he said, his voice icy. "I don't need a wife like that. I've rented an apartment near my new job, so I won't be coming back to this place." With that, he pushed past me, standing in front of the door with his suitcase, and left the house without looking back. I stood there, utterly stunned, unable to grasp what had just happened. A week later, I attended my high school reunion. I wasn't really in the mood to go, but I had already paid the membership fee. Besides, I hadn't been able to reach Everett since that day, and my frustration was growing with each passing day. I thought the reunion might be a good way to clear my mind. When I arrived, I saw that some of my classmates were divorced or single mothers, yet they were all leading strong and resilient lives. Up until that point, all I had hoped for was to mend my relationship with Everett, but as I thought about it more, I realized that if we reconciled, I would likely have to move with him to his new job location. In that case, staying at my current job would be impossible due to the long daily commute, even though it was just in the neighboring prefecture. On the other hand, After working for 17 years since graduating from junior college and earning a decent salary, it would be nearly impossible to find a job that offered the same income in the new location. Everett had completely shut me out, and I began to wonder if it was time to let go. What made my decision final was a phone call from Everett, pressuring me to move out. We had been living in a rented apartment, where Everett was listed as the primary tenant. The lease renewal period was approaching, and it seemed the real estate agent had contacted him about it. I told them we'd be moving out in a month, so make sure everything is cleared out by then, he said bluntly. I'm still living here, and you didn't even consult me, I protested. His response was cold and dismissive. I'm the one renting it. I don't need to consult you. That was the moment I knew it was truly over. Fine, I'll pack up my things this weekend or next, I replied, feeling defeated. Make sure to get rid of not just your stuff, but everything left in my room and all the furniture, he added, his tone sharp. I was taken aback by his nerve. What are you talking about? You originally rented this place when you were single, and most of the furniture has been here since then. The other furniture and appliances were bought with your credit card. I'll take care of disposing of the items I primarily used, but you're responsible for getting rid of the rest and covering the disposal costs. I shot back. Without another word, he hung up on me. I couldn't believe how selfish he was, taking only what was precious to him and leaving the entire cleanup to me. This made me more determined than ever to go through with the divorce. Over the weekend, I began sorting through the closet, reminiscing about the happy times we had shared since our marriage. Among the items were things that belonged to both Everett and me. As I was going through them, I stumbled upon his high school graduation album. I suddenly realized that all the friends Everett had introduced me to were from after his college days. Absent-mindedly, I flipped through the pages of his graduation album, and that's when I noticed something unexpected. I submitted the divorce papers and informed Everett via email. A week later, I received a response from him in the evening, along with a picture. The image was of a marriage registration form with his name and that of another woman. I was stunned and stared at the screen in disbelief when my phone rang. It was Everett. Did you see it? He asked. What does this mean? I demanded, still in shock. It's exactly what it looks like, he replied casually. I just had a wedding ceremony and remarried that woman. You've got to be kidding, I said, incredulous. She's incredibly beautiful, wealthy, and has a wonderful personality, he boasted. She asked me to marry her as soon as our divorce was finalized. This picture is proof. Isn't it amazing? So, you were cheating on me while we were still married? I asked, my voice trembling with anger. I'm popular, unlike you, who only has your job going for you, he sneered. Oh, by the way, her father built us a house on their property, and I transferred to her hometown with his help. It's a mid-sized company, but I'm an executive there. Everett was clearly eager to brag about his new marriage to his wealthy affair partner, but as he spoke, a wave of intense anger surged within me. He had blamed me for the failure of our marriage and used that as an excuse to divorce me, but it was also he could remarry his affair partner. He admitted that they had been seeing each other for over 2 years. They had met at a pub where he was out with coworkers, and she was one of 4 women sitting at a nearby table. Apparently, when Everett accidentally spilled his drink on himself, she had kindly wiped it off, sparking their conversation. She's the same age as us, but she's incredibly beautiful and looks a decade younger, he continued, as if rubbing salt in the wound. She wiped my clothes with a pretty handkerchief, and when I took her out to dinner to thank her, I found out she was the daughter of a landowner. She had entered into an arranged marriage at her parents' suggestion but was distressed by her husband's infidelity. After realizing that she needed to improve herself, she became someone completely different from you. I was immediately drawn to her, Everett explained, revealing that he had aggressively pursued her after that. She began dating Everett while still married to her husband, without getting a divorce. Isn't it normal to question a woman who dates 2 men while supposedly being devoted to her husband? I asked. But Everett, blinded by love, hadn't noticed anything wrong. A woman who doesn't support her man is no good, he retorted. You prioritize work and don't care about your husband. You're just not right for me. So, you can't stand on your own, and you expect me to support you? I shot back, unable to hold back my frustration. Everett seemed irritated as well and replied, "Ah, I'm so glad I'm finally free from a woman like you. Stella is the best, after all." "Stella? Is that her name?" I asked. "Yeah, it's written with the characters for double and flower, like double cherry blossoms. She was born when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. Her parents have great taste in names, they're true celebrities," Everett said, his voice filled with admiration for her unique name. As I listened to Everett gush about her, something clicked in my memory. "Did you really marry such an amazing woman? You're not lying, are you?" I asked, pretending to sound impressed. Everett's pride was clearly wounded by the insinuation. "She's the best wife with an impeccable family background and a great personality. Just look at her elegant beauty," he insisted and sent me a picture of the two of them at their wedding. There was no doubt it was her. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. "What's so funny? This is proof that we really got married," Everett exclaimed, sounding defensive. Sure, it's real," I replied, struggling to contain my laughter. "Hey, stop laughing. We really got married, and there's a baby in her belly," he added, clearly annoyed. "What? No way," I said, unable to stop laughing. "Ah, I get it. Losing me must have made you go crazy," Everett said, interpreting my laughter in a way that suited him. Then, dreamily, he added, "In 3 months, we'll have a baby girl. She'll definitely be as beautiful as Stella. Well, even if she looks like you instead, she'll still be beautiful." Everett has a sweet, idol-like handsome face, and for some reason, he suddenly became flustered and said, "No, she doesn't need to look like me." Hearing that, I burst out laughing again. "Go crazy on your own. Goodbye," Everett snapped before hanging up the phone. Eventually, he'll figure out why I was laughing, and I can't wait for that day. After that, we had some disputes over alimony and the division of property, but with the help of a lawyer, I managed to secure a substantial settlement from Everett. He agreed to pay his share of the alimony, not wanting to cause Stella any emotional distress during her pregnancy. 2 years passed without any contact, and then I finally received a desperate email from him. "Please, Scarlett, I beg you, please listen to me." Reluctantly, I answered the phone call that followed right after the email. As I expected, it was about the child he had with Stella. "Well, kids tend to look like their parents, right?" I said. "Of course, who else would they look like?" he replied nervously. Apparently, the baby girl didn't resemble the beautiful Stella at all. "She's only 2 years old, right? She'll change a lot as she grows." I tried to reassure him, though I could tell he wasn't convinced. He found it odd that there was no resemblance at all, and I suppose that made sense. "Doesn't the baby look like you?" I asked, struggling to keep my laughter in check. Everett suddenly panicked and blurted out, "No, she doesn't, but it's okay that she doesn't look like me." He had secretly done a DNA test to check if Stella had been unfaithful, but the results confirmed that both Everett and Stella were undeniably the child's parents. "So, there's no doubt she's your child," I said. But Everett wasn't ready to let the conversation end there. "Hey, when I told you 2 years ago that Stella was pregnant, you laughed a lot. Do you know something?" he asked, pressing me for an answer. Wow, he remembered that well, I thought. Actually, Stella and I went to the same high school and were in the same grade. We were never in the same class during those 3 years, so I didn't know her well, but I do remember that she was the daughter of a landlord and had a rather haughty, unpleasant personality. At a class reunion about 2 years ago, the topic of Stella's plastic surgery came up. Stella, with her single eyelids, small eyes, button nose, and slight overbite, had been self-conscious about her looks. Apparently, after high school, she underwent several cosmetic procedures at a famous clinic in New York. She didn't attend the reunion, so I didn't see her in person, but a friend later sent me before and after pictures of her transformation. American cosmetic surgery really is incredible. When I told Everett about this, he didn't believe me at first, but then it hit him. He had never seen any childhood photos or graduation albums of hers. Was I deceived? Damn it, he muttered, realizing the truth. Stella had played the role of the sweet, demure woman while they were dating, but it turns out she had cheated on him multiple times and had been divorced before. Worse, she had been sued for alimony by several of her ex-husband's wives. I'm going to confront her, Everett declared. Maybe you shouldn't, I suggested. Huh, why not? He asked, confused. Well, the child doesn't look like you either, right? Usually, girls are said to resemble their fathers, I pointed out, making Everett fall silent. She can't look like you, you've had plastic surgery too. How did you? He began, but I cut him off. When I moved out of the apartment we lived in 2 years ago, I found your high school graduation album. You looked like a completely different person, and I was shocked. After seeing that album, I finally understood why he never introduced me to his college friends, insisted on having a modest wedding, and only invited a few colleagues from work. Everett had likely undergone plastic surgery while in college and had been afraid his past would be exposed by his old friends. I don't think there's anything wrong with plastic surgery, I told him, but you have to consider that your child might inherit your original features. So, what should I do now? Everett asked, sounding desperate. What do you mean? What should you do? Just be a normal father. The DNA results confirmed that the child is definitely yours. With that, I hung up the phone and immediately blocked his number and email address. It's astonishing how narrow-minded he is, just because his child's appearance didn't match his expectations. A year later, a friend of mine, who has a child the same age as Everett's daughter, showed me a picture of her little one starting kindergarten. The child was adorable. Interestingly, Everett and Stella's daughter didn't resemble either of them after their surgeries. According to my friend, who had become close to Stella, even Stella had expected her child to look more like Everett post-surgery. My friend mentioned that she often had to listen to Stella complain, saying things like, "I shouldn't have given birth to such a child. It's hard to believe how awful they both are." On top of that, it seems Everett has already cheated again. And now Stella is even seeking divorce advice from my friend. Everett is such a fool. If they do end up getting divorced, he'll be stuck paying alimony and child support. And considering Stella's wealthy background, who knows how much she could demand if she gets a good lawyer. What's worse is that, according to my friend, even the local kids know about Stella's plastic surgery, and they've started excluding her daughter at kindergarten, telling her, "Your mom is actually ugly." It's a small comfort that Stella's parents seem to love their granddaughter, but it's truly sad for the child. Still, it's none of my business anymore. As for me, I managed to rent an apartment in a location that's convenient for commuting. With the shorter distance, I can now clean and do laundry after work, leaving my days off completely free to enjoy my own interests. I've also rekindled a friendship with a divorced classmate I reconnected with at the reunion, and I'm enjoying a leisurely and fulfilling life.